Of course, just like with any new release, there's no telling if people will connect with the new material, especially if sonically it departs from their previous beloved work, such as Witness by Katy Perry, CXOXO by Camila Cabello, and Solar Power by Lorde, eras that took a different direction and when released had a mixed reaction. However, just as there's a chance the new sound may not be received well, there's also a possibility that the new direction could be the best thing to happen, such as Taylor Swift, who started out in country then later went to full pop with 1989, Post Malone, who started in hip hop then ventured to pop and even explored country with F1 Trillion. Then there's also Machine Gun Kelly going from hip hop to pop punk with Tickets to My Downfall, which was a success and brought in new fans. And then there's more artists such as Madonna, Beyonce, Miley Cyrus, Rihanna, Lady Gaga and more who also ventured into new sounds and genres as they advance in their music careers. Lastly, it could just be a good career move. So when I made a video about this, why Gaga scrapped the original LG5 album concept, which later became Joanne, besides the album featuring a country, folk, rock, and pops type of sound, a departure from her previous pop, electro, and dance work, there were comments on that video explaining why it was a good career move. Because back when she released Art Pop, the general public had grown tired of what she was known for at that point. So by stripping it back and showing a different side of her, and it aligned well with her because she was going into acting and that sound, it just was perfect. Kind of some of the elements that A Star Is Born had. The movie was a big success. It opened up new opportunities for her, and also she ended up becoming a successful actress, gaining new fans, and although some of her old fans didn't like Joanne, they did eventually come around to the new sound, furthering her success. And maybe if she would have just continued on with the pop dance sound that she was already known for, maybe things wouldn't have worked out the way they did. Another great example of this is Endless Summer Vacation by Miley Cyrus, though it got a mixed reaction from fans who preferred her last album Plastic Hearts more. Endless Summer Vacation had Flowers, which became one of Miley's biggest hits and one of the biggest songs of 2023. The song also helped Miley win her first Grammys, such as Best Pop Solo Performance and Record of the Year at the 2024 Grammys, along with also gaining new fans, which brings me to the question that started this video idea. Is it needed for a musician to change their sound for every album, taking the risk of it not being received well and not having as much support as their past work, even though there's a chance that it may bring more success, new fans, because as we've seen when artists do change their sounds, regardless if successful or not, there are comments like I miss the old or their older music is better, which is fine because you don't gotta like everything one releases even when it involves your favorite artist. Now as for reasons why an artist may decide to change their sound, well, just as we change and grow as humans, it makes sense that an artist would wanna try something different as time progresses, especially when the artist has full creative control, which isn't always the case because sometimes a label could be the one suggesting the artist to go into a direction they may think sells, it's trendy, which leads to compromising from both sides. Another could be maybe something happened where the artist feels the need to express a specific moment in time, like Taylor Swift's 2017 album Reputation for example, a much darker sound than her previous work where she also explored hip-hop and trap, and in a time where the public had turned their back on her. Instead of giving interviews and doing red carpet appearances like she did in the past when promoting a new album, for this era, Taylor decided to stay away from the spotlight and let the album explain everything that she needed to say, such as her feud with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West, finding a new love in her life, and more. So while looking more into this online, I did see a conversation started by pop heads on Reddit. Is it a good or bad thing that most artists switch up their sound every album/era? And there were 3 comments down below that I feel brought out some great points about this topic that I wanted to share, starting with Ross3Bag that said, I feel like it's sort of necessary, but can be done in a way that's not alienating. To give a really good example, Melodrama by Lorde sounds entirely different, huge pop hooks, 80s synth pop influence, more grand instrumental from Pure Heroin, but keeps a lot of the same elements, spacey background synths, subtle hip hop elements, brilliant lyricism, Lorde's vocal style. It's just a matter of how well the artist executes change, because it can definitely be bad if the resulting music is trash. Then there's user 80 Broccoli who said, If they don't, they are in danger of becoming irrelevant to new fans. The old fans might stick around, but younger audiences won't be interested. Also, musicians like changing styles. I am one, and I can say that I get bored easily when writing music in the same genre all the time. Sure, sometimes the artist is calculating and following trends, but not always. Changing styles can also be a sign of moving forward creatively, which is ultimately a good thing. Then lastly, the one I wanted to show is from user I'm Right There 20, who said, I think the change only works well for certain artists. For example, Taylor Swift came broke into the scene as a singer-songwriter. She's always had talent for writing great lyrics and melodies, and with her pop music, it's no different. She has only changed her sound and production, but her core is still very Taylor. If an artist abandons their signature sound, it could work, but there are other factors that determine their success. If their sound isn't trendy, they may suffer. Ariana, for example, has had 2 of her #1 hits be R&B/trap/pop, and it works because that's what people are listening to. Which, considering this comment was made 6 years ago, I'm guessing they were referring to Ariana's 2019 album, Thank You Next. So while I do agree about change works well for certain artists, I also think it's about finding a way to make sure the sound aligns well with the artist. However, even if everything does align well, if the song isn't good or doesn't have that connection, then it won't matter. And just as I said, there are other factors that are involved that determine if this new material will be successful or not. And also, just as I mentioned before, with any project, you just never know how the public and fans are going to react to it. So while I do agree with this comment that changing up your sound isn't for every artist, like some artists are really good at it and some it just doesn't work out. And while I do agree that it is a good thing for artists to change their sound and try new things because it can bring out something that they never knew that they had, just because someone doesn't always switch up their sound doesn't mean that they're not going to evolve or grow. I mean, we definitely do see an artist's growth when you look at like their first album to like their 3rd album or 5th album. You can just see how far they have come. Sure, maybe some artists at some point may try something new and not do a full album or a concept on that sound or genre. It might just be in their discography, you know, the deep cuts, and just continue with the sound that they already have and just evolve from that and just continue expanding from there. I'm not gonna lie, I do love a concept. I love when an artist does change it up and give us something different. And there have been moments where some of my favorite artists have put out songs or an album where I wasn't really much of a big fan of, but then they put out an album later on, you know, like their next one, and I was a big fan of that one. It's one of those things that you can't keep everyone happy. And it's also not to say that that album, just because it wasn't received well when it was first out, that years later isn't gonna get more appreciated, because we do see that with albums that the general public or maybe fans didn't really like so much that years later people do start to come around to it later on. You know, as much as we share our opinions about our favorite artists that, oh, they should try this sound or they should do this concept, they're the ones that have to make the decision and what feels right for them. So what are your thoughts on this, and do you think an artist needs to change up their sound for every new album that they release? And what are your top 3 favorite artists that you think have done a great job of reinventing themselves? You can share it down below in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and also subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.